What's going on YouTube? This is Doctor today, and I'm really pumped to be bringing you this deck that I built in the Pokemon trading card game online. This is my Manectric and Dragonite from the Roaring Skies expansion to the trading card game deck, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about it, and then we'll try it out in a few games, and we'll see how it does in the current metagame. So I think we'll just start off by showing you the primary card in which I built the deck around, and that's this Dragonite right here. It's got 160 HP, like I said, it's from the Roaring Skies expansion. It's the half art here, the foil, and it's had what's really cool about this card. There are a lot of things that are really cool about it, and I really like it. That's why I built the deck. So I'll just go over all of them, I guess. First of all, it's got the Delta Plus ability, where if your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack of this Pokemon, take one additional prize card. So this may sound very familiar to the Lugia-EX from one of the Plasma expansions that also had a similar ability. So basically, with this card, you only need to knock out 2 of your opponent's Pokemon EX, or 3 of their traditional Pokemon, basic or otherwise, Pokemon, in order to get your 6 prize cards to win the game, which is really awesome. And while it does look unfeasible because it's a primary attack, the only attack that you're going to be using basically requires 5 energy, 3 grass, 1 lightning, and 1 colorless. Heavy impact. It does a whopping 150 damage, which is insane. That's pretty much that's a ton of damage, basically. The Salamence from the Roaring Skies also, I think its attack is 170, but I'm going to see if we can make this 150 damage Dragonite be able to do the trick for us today. Now, there are a lot of things going for it. Like I said, it's got 160 HP, so that's actually very bulky, and it's substantial, and probably is... Well, not probably, it's definitely able to survive hits from Pokemon EX, which is why I do think that it is feasible, even in today's, essentially 100% Pokemon EX meta game. It's weak to Fairy as well, so we're going to need to keep in mind as we play this deck to watch out for those Xerneas EX, Gardevoir EX decks, because those are very threatening to us. So, I've got a 2-1-2 line of the Dragonite, the Dratini, the Dragonair, and the Dragonite, and most people that are going to be running this Dragonite will be running the Dratini from the Roaring Skies set, but I actually opted to go for the one from a previous expansion because it has like 10 more HP. Or maybe they have the same HP, but this one has attacks that are slightly better because you'll be able to heal. Yep, I think that's why I chose it. Got the Dragonairs from the Roaring Skies as well. I got one of those. I only have a 2-1-2 because they're... I mean, if it takes 5 energies to power up to get one of these Dragonites going, you're not going to be able to do very many in one game. You're probably going to be able to get 1, 2 max going. So, that's why I only have 2. I have the one Shaman EX from the Roaring Skies set as well, just because of its ability setup. You're probably aware of how amazing this card is, but if you're not, when you play this card from your hand onto your bench, you can draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand, and then you also have the option to, with 2 colorless energies, attack and bring it back into your hand so you can use it again. So this is a really important draw support card, which is, I think, vital to this deck, and almost all competitive decks probably in the future will be running at least one Shaman EX, in my opinion. Just like a lot of decks also run the Jirachi EX. I pretty much put this in all my decks. I can't tell you how often I find myself being able to use an Ultra Ball or a Computer Search. Well, not a Computer Search, but an Ultra Ball to get this, and then I can get a supporter for that turn, and that really just makes a world of difference with Stellar Guidance ability, which allows you to, when you play it, to search your deck for a supporter and then put it into your hand. So basically, they're very similar and both very, very good. Now, this attack, Heavy Impact, only does 150 damage, and most Pokemon EX that you'll be facing have 170 or 180 HP. So 150 is just not going to cut it, and really, if you're doing 150 damage, you don't want to be using that attack twice to KO your opponent's Pokemon because that's so much wasted damage, right? So we have a few things going on in this deck that are going to allow us to do additional damage with our first single attack. We're going to be going for those one-hit knockouts on Pokemon EX to try to only have to knock out 2 of them in order to win the game. So the first thing will be the Altaria from Dragons Exalted. This is a promo, I think, with its Fight Song ability. Now, it only has 70 HP. You're not going to be using this to attack. Its attack, Glide, does 40 damage. It's worthless. But its Fight Song ability increases the damage of Dragon Pokemon's attacks by 20. So, if you do a little math here, 150 plus 20 is 170. Right there, you're already getting one-hit knockouts and stuff like Yveltal EX, etc. Now, for those other Pokemon EXs that have 180, you're going to need to do a little bit more damage, even more so than that. So, I'm running Silver Bangles in here. You could very well run muscle bands in here instead of the silver bangle, but most of the metagame is going to be Pokemon EX, so this is going to allow your Dragonite EX to do 180 damage, 150 plus 30 to Pokemon EX, getting those important one-hit knockouts on those Pokemon. In the case that you are not able to get or maintain an Altaria on the field. I've been testing this deck for a couple weeks, and what I've found is that it's pretty easy to get your Altaria on the field, but it can be sniped pretty easily or neutralized by a Garbodor or something like that, so Wobbuffet, for example, or Silent, well, not Silent Land, yeah. So I think that having the Silver Bangles in here is very important. Now, because this attack as well takes 5 energies to power up, which is pretty insane and risky to have all those energies on the same Pokemon, I found it necessary to have a little bit of energy acceleration here. You're not going to be playing 1 energy each turn, right? So I'm running a 2-2 line of Manectric-EX and Mega Manectric-EX to help support us here. You don't really want to be using Manectric-EX that much. Its attacks are good. Overrun, 20 to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon, as well as 20 to the opponent's active Pokemon for 1 energy is great. That's an amazing attack, in my opinion. Very useful. Assault Laser's good too. For 1 lightning, 1 colorless, it does 60 damage, but it can do 120 if the opposing Pokemon has a tool card attached to it. So that's great, but really you want to be using the Mega Manectric-EX's Turbo Bolt, doing 110 damage and allowing you to attach 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. In the case, Dratini will be the one that you're going to be attaching it to, Dragonair and then Dragonite subsequently. So, in addition, those are all the Pokemon in this deck. Moving on, we're running 2 Battle Compressors. You probably know what this card does as well, but it allows you to search your deck for up to 3 cards and discard them. So, basically the way it'll work is that if you can get it going properly, you'll use Battle Compressor, put 3 energies, basic energies, into your discard pile, use Mega Manectric-EX's Turbo Bolt, and put 2 of them onto Dragonite EX, which really helps speed things along and makes it pretty viable. You can actually get a turn 3 heavy impact, basically. So, that's only happened to me a few times, but those times that have, it's been really satisfying, so we'll keep going there. I'm running 2 Bicycles in this deck because, once again, we really need to be able to play Supporter and an Energy every turn, as well as really trying to get those energies in the discard pile and to then attach them via Turbo Bolt. So I find that Bicycles are pretty helpful in this deck. I'm running 1 Computer Search as the A-Spec card. Computer Search, as we know, is a very, very useful card. You could use Dowsing Machine as well. I think that's perfectly viable. However, I think it's kind of neutralized because via Seeker it does exist. Computer Search is just a little nicer. The discard is helpful as well if you have a bunch of energies in your hand and you want to discard those. I'm running 1 Escape Rope and 1 Switch. You could run more, but I don't think that they're very necessary, despite the fact that Dragonite has a 4 retreat cost, because the Mega Manectric-EX has a 0 retreat cost, so that kind of helps us along in that fashion. But it's always nice to have a Switch and an Escape Rope, so I've got 1 of each here. I'm running 2 Evo Sodas to help us along, both not only in our Dragonite line, but also to get that Altaria out. I find that very useful, and I'm running 2 Rare Candies as well, because sometimes, you know, if you're only running 1 Dragonair, it could be prized, and you're going to need those Rare Candies to get those Dragonites going, so we have those as well. Now, you may be confused by the 2 Hypnotoxic Laser that I have here, because the whole point of the deck is getting 1-hit knockouts on Pokemon EX to win the game. Hypnotoxic Laser, of course, however, is a great stalling technique, and because there's so much that needs to happen for this deck to work, using getting a Mega Manectric onto the field, being able to use it to attach those energies from your discard pile to your Dragonite, and then finally using the Dragonite to get those KOs. Hypnotoxic Laser can put your opposing Pokemon, the opponent's active Pokemon, to sleep, and that can actually sometimes help us out. You could also substitute a Headringer, Team Flare Headringer in this place as well. That would slow down your opponent as well, and I think would be very effective. In fact, might even be better because of the Assault Laser ability of Manectric-EX. So, that's another option as well. I'm currently running Hypnotoxic Laser because I have them, and I don't have the the Headringers, excuse me. I could get them very easily, but I just haven't done so. And then also because I wanted to use them before they're out via the rotation that's coming up in a few weeks here. So, moving on, I've got 2 Ultra Balls. It's helpful because you need to get those Pokemon. Every deck basically runs Ultra Ball. Enough said there. 2 VS Seeker, 1 Colress, 2 Lysander, or excuse me, 1 Lysander, 2 Ends, which again is going to be gone soon. 1 Pokemon Fan Club. It's just very useful to get the Swablu. You can get a Shaman, Manectric, Dratini, Tarashi, etc. I'm running 2 Professor Birch's Observations, 2 Professor Junipers, 1 Wally. Wally is a very useful card here. It allows you to search your deck for a Pokemon that evolves from one of the Pokemon you have, and to evolve it. You can do that turn 1. So Dratini, Dragonair, that's great. It helps give it some longevity because it has 80 HP instead of the Dratini's 50. And then for the Stadium in this deck, because every deck nowadays needs to have a Stadium to counter your opponents, I have the Training Center, which gives each Stage 1 and Stage 2 Pokemon in play 30 additional hit points. So if you go back and revisit all of those Pokemon that we have in this deck, that's going to give your Dragonair 190 HP, which is more HP than most Pokemon EX have. It's actually right in between Pokemon EX and Mega Pokemon EX, so that's pretty good too. It's pretty ridiculous when you get an Altaria, a Silver Bangled Dragonite, and a Training Center. You have 190 HP non-EX Pokemon that's able to hit for 200 damage on Pokemon EX. It's ridiculous and ridiculously fun. Got 2 Manectric Spirit Links. This allows you to Mega Evolve your Manectric-EX into your Mega Manectric-EX without ending your turn. That's crucial because we don't have a single turn to waste when you're trying to power up a Dragonite before you just get steamrolled by your opponent. And then for the energies, I already mentioned the Silver Bangles. We've just got 5 Grass, 5 Electric, and then we're running 4 of the Roaring Skies released special energy, the Double Dragon energy, which is vital for this deck as well. If you're not able to, sometimes if your opponent's deck is too fast, you're only going to be able to maybe use the Turbo Bolt once, which may be enough then if you can get a Double Dragon energy attachment and another attachment on the last turn to get that Dragonite going. This Double Dragon energy is really, really good with this deck. It can provide any color energy to your Dragon-type Pokemon, but only 1 at a time. So you can have 2 of these on Dragonite EX, that's 4 energy right there, and then either of these will do fine, basically. So I'm pulling out this game on the Pokemon TCG Online against my opponent using a normal type deck exclusively. That's exciting. I have not seen a deck like that before. Hopefully we are able to draw into the cards we need and successfully use this Dragonite Manectric deck so I can show off how it is that it's used. As my starting Pokemon here is actually very perfect. I couldn't have asked for a better starting hand. I have a Manectric-EX in my hand as well as a Swablu and a Dratini, so as I am able to draw an additional card, and I've got a Shaymin-EX as well. So this is really as good of a starting hand as you can possibly get. Now, I have a few options here. I could play a Lightning Energy onto a Manectric-EX and then use Juniper to discard a bunch of energies into my discard pile. I don't really want to do that though because there are only a few special energies. What I think I will do instead is play the Double Dragon and then play the Shaymin-EX, draw a couple cards, and then I've got 3 basic energies here, an Evil Soda and a Bicycle deck, and I'll get discarded very easily. I have no problem with that. As in my next turn, I've got an energy to attach, got a Lysander and a Wally that I could use, I got a Dragonair, that's awesome, and a Mega Manectric-EX, so I can probably, what I foresee myself doing if I don't get End or something will be to play Grass Energy on the Manectric-EX, and then probably I'll play the Dragonair onto the Dratini and then probably end up using the Wally. And what's really nice about Wally is that you can use it on a Pokemon that just evolved this turn. So I could evolve the Dragonair and use the Wally to get a Dragonite this turn if I wanted to. I don't think that's probably the best option though. Apparently that's the only option because there is no Altaria. It must be prized. So I'm going to go ahead and play that. And because the only damage I'd be doing would be 20, I'm just going to go ahead and Mega Evolve this turn instead of attacking. For no apparent reason. I really should have just attacked and then Mega Evolve next turn because I had the Spirit Link. My opponent used the Pokemon Catcher, can't get it, and then used the Lysander. So now I'm a little stymied. I don't have a way of switching until I use this to get a Juniper. So what I will do is play the Double Dragon, use the VS Seeker, and get the Juniper. And I got another Manectric Spirit Link. I did not get any draw supporters, so draw support. So my opponent using this Team Plasma Snorlax with a block ability that prevents my Pokemon from retreating. So that's kind of a good stall tactic as my opponent uses the Enhanced Hammer to once again get rid of that Double Dragon energy, as that is pretty frustrating right about now. Fortunately, I do have a number of supporters here. I've got a Lightning Energy, so I will put that there. I'm going to use the End because I don't want to throw away a lot of these cards, and I was able to draw onto that Escape Rope, which is very fortunate. I'm going to go ahead and lay the Silver Bangle down here And in my next turn, I do have one other option. So I'm going to keep this N for next turn, use the computer search, get rid of the Colress and the BS Seeker. And I'm going to draw onto... Might be beneficial just to grab a switch on the off chance that he does switch my Pokemon, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary because I do have the supporter already. I got a Dragonite there. I could put a few more energies in the discard pile. I already have 3 basic energies, however, so I'm going to postpone doing that, I think. I could just grab... I'm going to grab... Actually, I'm just going to grab a Bicycle. That'll give me an additional 3 cards that I can potentially use. So, didn't grab anything I need, but I was able to use the Turbo Bolt attack to attach these 2 basic energy cards. I'm just grabbing a Grass and a Lightning. Click the done. Attach him to my Dragonite-EX, as my opponent's Snorlax only has 20 HP remaining. Really hope that he's able to lay another Pokemon down onto the field before I KO his Pokemon. My opponent's smart, he has Max Potion, so that'll postpone it. Does use the Team Flare Grunts to discard the Lightning Energy that I have on my Pokemon. Definitely a good strategy because I don't have another one in my hand currently. And so I'll have to use the N. I was successfully able to get one, fortunately, and then I will go ahead and use the Turbo Bolt once again to get 2 more energies attached to this Dragonite-EX, which now has 3 Lightning energies and 1 Grass energy attached to it. So that's unfortunate because I really only need 2 Lightning energies and 3 Grass energies. So what I will need to be able to start using the Heavy Impact attack will be a double Dragon Energy to get that going, and I already have 2 in my discard pile. Assuming that one of them is prized, I will definitely need to draw into something here. So I'm going to use this Evo Soda. Unfortunately, I do not have the Altaria in my deck. I already knew that though, so I'm only using this to kind of monitor what I have remaining, as I only have 17 cards remaining in my deck. I should be wary of that as we progress. So I do notice that I have 1 double Dragon Energy in my deck currently that I could potentially get. Unfortunately, I don't have any way of doing so. This has 5 energy, you'll notice, but again, I need 1 more Grass Energy, which I have in my hand, to get that going. So instead, I'm just going to use a Turbo Bolt attack, KO my opponent's first of 4 Team Plasma Snorlaxes, and we're on our way. So my opponent's catcher fails, as I got the Altaria surprise, I didn't even notice, but I do have a switch in my hand, so this is perfect. I've got the Altaria, and I do have the Grass Energy. So again, we're finally seeing the absolute power of Dragonite-EX here, going for the Heavy Impact 170 damage to the opposing Snorlax, 1-hit KOing it, despite its relative bulk of 130 HP. So, my opponent really struggling to get any energy attachments going. I don't know that they've played a single energy this game. Let me check that. They have not played a single energy this game. I wonder why. This was like a stall deck or something to get me to surrender or something. I don't fully understand it, but it is rather peculiar in my opinion. So my opponent did use that. If I... yeah, you can see that I need to get this attachment here and able to start KOing my opponent's Pokemon once again. I'm actually going to refrain from using the Juniper because I don't have anything in my deck that I need. And now I just have to KO his final Snorlax before we win the game. So, kind of an unfortunate turn of events. My opponent does have the Crushing Hammer, so trying to stall me out once again. But it's very strange. Not a single energy, only running Pokemon that have the block ability and running hammers. I do have the Double Dragon, so that's a good game to my opponent. As you can see, doing those crazy knockouts is, in my opinion, pretty fun, but... Yep, so that was one game there. So that's basically how the deck works there. Now, I'm looking for a second game here in the Pokemon Trading Card Game Online to show how the deck works a little bit more, since our first game was somewhat anticlimactic. My opponent was using a very strange deck that didn't have any sort of win condition or way to do damage to my Pokemon, which is kind of the whole point of the game. So, my starting hand here, I have the Dratini and the Swablu. I'm actually going to lead with the Dratini. It has a little more HP. and I don't particularly want it to get KO'd. I'm going to use the Hypnotoxic Laser here. Hopefully I can slow down the Xerneas. Looks like it's going to fall asleep, so that's a seemingly pretty awesome start there. And, could lay the Silver Bangle down. I think I will. I could lay this Grass Energy attached to the Dratini. It does have a retreat cost of 1, so that might be a good strategy. However, I don't know that I really want to, because I would like to, well, I will, so that I can retreat when I get a Manectric-EX. Perfect, and I'm going to actually use this Battle Compressor straight up right now, because I don't want to be drawing onto energies in the future if I don't have to, if I can use Manectric-EX to get them going. Now I'm going to retreat right away because I don't want this Xerneas waking up and potentially KOing my Pokemon. So this is a really challenging matchup for this deck as well, because my opponent is using a strictly Fairy type deck, and my Dragonites are weak to the Fairy typing. Opponent uses the Hypnotoxic Laser on my Manectric-EX, a little bit unfortunate, but I haven't seen a Burbank, so it probably won't be too big of an issue as we progress here through this match. In my hand, I've got a Dragonair, a Rare Candy, and a VS Seeker, so I will be able to evolve into a Dragonair. Use the VS Seeker for the N and draw some new cards as my opponent reveals a Gardevoir EX, which will be pretty challenging for us, particularly if it evolves. I think that my priority should be trying to KO that Spritzy. I don't want him to be able to use the Aromatisse Aroma Veil or whatever, Flower Veil. I can't remember what its ability is that allows you to freely move your energies around at will. As the opponent's Xerneas is woken and decides to use the Geomancy to get some energies in place. So I'll go ahead and evolve. My opponent has laid down his entire bench, so I'm actually not going to use the VS Seeker, and I'll just go ahead and use the Colress to get some additional energies. Now, I'm going to actually refrain from playing Training Center because I think he's going to play a Fairy Garden, and I'd like to be able to counter that. So what I will do, however, is not much. The only energy option that I have will be to attach a Double Dragon Energy to my Dragonair. I think I will. I'm going to play another Hypnotoxic Laser, trying to put my opponent's Pokemon to sleep. Doesn't end up working out, however. And so I don't have any energies available to me currently, so I will actually just go ahead and Mega Evolve this turn, which allows me to use Free Retreat if I so choose, and prevents me from getting any future damage from the poison that I currently previously had. So I'm holding onto a Switch, a Manectric Spirit Link, and a Training Center in my hand. My opponent, Xerneas, is still good to go. Hopefully he doesn't have that Aromatisse in his hand currently and is not able to get one this turn. Otherwise, we might see some real damage being done to my Pokemon coming up here. Sycamore comes out, so that does not bode well for us. We'll see if he was able to draw onto that Aromatisse, though he does have the Slurpuff, so with the Sweet Veil ability preventing all of his Fairy-type Pokemon, since they'll all have Fairy Energy attached to them, from being affected from special conditions, thereby fixing the poison on this Xerneas. So really interested to see if he'll pull out the Mega Gardevoir EX here, in which case it would make sense to have energy on all of his Pokemon. So I did top deck the Professor Birch's Observations, which is excellent. I'm going to use that right away. Got the 7, which is incredible. And then I will go ahead and put an energy attachment on this Manectric-EX. So my opponent's Xerneas might be doing 100 damage potentially to my Manectric-EX next turn. It's got a retreat cost of 2, and he also has a Xerneas EX that he can, if he does get the Aromatisse, he'll be able to fully hook up and start doing 140 damage, or break through 60 and 30. Which I would be fine with any of those, so I'm actually just going to end my turn right here. I did get the most important energy attachment. I got the first lightning, so whatever kind of basic energy I have in my hand by the time of my next turn, I will be able to start using that Turbo Bolt and putting those grass energies on my Dragonair, which would be ideal. And I've got the Altaria. I already have 2 energy on the Dragonair, and I know I have at least 3 energies in my discard. Let me just confirm that. 4 energies there. So, those 4 energies, if I can even get 1 Turbo Bolt attachment onto my Dragonair and top deck some sort of Dragonite, or when I use the Juniper, draw onto one, I could potentially start OHKOing my opponent's Pokemon. The problem, however, will be seeing if I can KO that Xerneas before it KOs my Dragonair. Basically, if he puts all of his energies, or most of his energies, on that Xerneas-EX, and I'm able to KO it, then I could see myself having a chance in this match. But again, if he is able to KO my Dragonite right away, which seems likely, then we'll see. We will see, because it takes so long getting one of these Dragonites set up. It's pretty problematic. So I need to play this energy. I'm actually going to... Yeah, I'm going to use a Lightning Energy. And I have the option to Juniper here, discard a Rare Candy, a Special Double Dragon Energy, a Grass Energy, and a Switch. I'm actually going to refrain from doing so at this time. I'm just going to use the Turbo Bolt, get these two energies, and attach them to my Dragonair. So next turn, he'll use his Xerneas-EX, KO my Mega Manectric-EX, which only needs 60 damage onto it, so I would assume he'll probably use the Breakthrough, KO my Mega Manectric, and then do 30 damage to my Dragonair. Very... Ooh, brutal. Oh no, he's going to KO my Dragonair right now. Oh no, that's brutal. Oh gosh, that's brutal. He's got the Lysander, so I assume he'll probably use that, pull out my Dragonair, use the Breakthrough, which is ×2, that'll KO my Dragonair, and then deal 30 damage to my Mega Manectric-EX. So, if he does that, then I don't see... I would still have a Mega Manectric on the field, and I could use the Turbo Bolt to start getting another Manectric-EX going. Wouldn't be the end of the world. Manectric-EX is a decent Pokemon, and this thing only has 60 HP, the Xerneas-EX, so I could use the Assault Laser and KO it then. Okay, so my opponent's taking a few moments here to think about what it is that he wants to do. It turns out he's actually going to KO the Altaria. A little surprising. I guess he realizes that once I get my Dragonite out, that Altaria will be probably the deciding factor about being able to get those one-hit knockouts on his Pokemon. I'm assuming that's what why he's doing this. If I were him, I would have just KO'd the Dragonair. If he sees that it's got 4 energy attachments to it, it's obviously important, but he's going to allow me to actually start getting one more Turbo Bolt before I end up getting KO'd. And he actually retreated with his Xerneas-EX. Very strange. I guess he thinks that I'll be using my Dragonite next turn. He doesn't want to have all his energies get discarded. So he KOs my Altaria. That's perfectly fine with me, because with the Silver Bangle, my Heavy Impact is still doing 180 damage to Pokemon EX. So I'm going to go back out to my Mega Manectric here. Now, the one unfortunate thing about Turbo Bolt is that you have to attach 2 energies if you have them in your discard, and I, of course, have to. So instead, it's kind of unfortunate. So I'll go ahead and evolve the Dragonite, which only needs 1 more energy to be successfully used. Again, I don't particularly want to use the Juniper because I've got a Switch and a Double Dragon Energy in my hand, but I may have to. Yeah. I could use the Switch and then use my Dragonite to KO this, and then I would just get KO'd by Xerneas, which I could then KO with this. Unless he started using his Gardevoir. He still isn't drawn onto that Aromatisse, but it's only a matter of time. Unless he only has 1 and it's priced, which seems pretty unlikely. Now, if I use Turbo Bolt this turn, I would be putting 2 Grass Energies on my Manectric-EX, which would be quite a waste, which I do not think is probably the best choice. I may just have to KO this Xerneas and take 2 prize cards. Don't particularly want to do that. Still have 25 cards in my hand, or in my deck, excuse me, so maybe I should just use that energy attachment there, which is now good to go if I switch it out. Use the Juniper. I'm going to use the Juniper right now. I was able to get the Lysander, so next turn I think I will end up doing that. I'll go ahead and play a Silver... don't need to play Silver Bangle, this one's already got one. So, I'm going to go ahead and use the Training Center here so his Pokemon don't have free retreat cost anymore, giving my Dragonite 190 HP. I've got a Battle Compressor, a Silver Bangle, I've got a lot of stuff to work with. So what I'm going to do instead will be to discard this lightning energy and cancel. Let me check what I have here. I've already got 2 energies down there. But what I think I'll do is discard the battle compressor and a lightning energy, grab yet another Dratini, play the silver bangle, and then go ahead and turbo bolt here, grab a couple of these energies and put them on the Manectric-EX. Now that I have the lightning in there, I was able to put the 2 energies onto my Manectric-EX that are necessary for it to start using that turbo bolt if I'm able to successfully get it mega evolved again. So that's what I did there. I think was the right course of action. Now I have another Dratini that I can start using if I'm given the option to start powering it up. So hopefully that will help us out in the near future. My opponent goes out into the Xerneas-EX. He doesn't have free retreat cost, but since I KO'd his Pokemon, makes sense that he'll go ahead and KO my Mega Manectric-EX now. He used the X-Blast, so no damage done to my benched Pokemon, as now I could go out into my Dragonair to KO this, only to be then KO'd by a Gardevoir-EX next turn. Since it does 100 times 2 to my Dragonite, my 190 HP still would not be enough for me to actually succeed. So what I will do now is go out into my Manectric. I can always retreat it if I topped up something particularly useful. As I've got a fan club and a computer search, probably should use the computer search and grab a rare candy in it. Now I could use the computer search, discard the Lysander in the Pokemon fan club, grab a Dragonite, and then use the rare candy on it. What I'm actually going to do is discard Lysander, Pokemon Fan Club with Computer Search, and then grab... I don't have an N. There is a VS Seeker there. Let me check if I have an N in my discard here. My graveyard, yeah, the N is there. So what I'm going to do is then grab a VS Seeker, grab the N, which will limit my opponent to only 3 cards, which is why I'm doing so. And then got me some additional cards as well. I was not able to get the Manectric Spirit Link, which would have been pretty helpful in this case, but since I didn't, I'll just use the Double Dragon Energy here, and then go ahead and use the Assault Laser attack to KO my opponent's Xerneas-EX for 1 prize card because of its life due. So this is actually not going altogether that poorly, which is surprising, frankly, because I'm fighting a deck of the Pokemon of which are all super effective against my primary attacker. So we're pretty evenly matched right now, and all it will take will be for me to KO 2 more of my opponent's Pokemon, any 2 of them, to win the game. My opponent here putting a Muscle Band on his Xerneas, that's a little strange. Still does not have that Aromatisse, and my Training Center has really, I think, slowed down his ability to come in, retreat, etc. What I'm going to do, I have the Escape Rope. I really would prefer a switch in this case, however. Oh, I don't need it. I can just retreat, go ahead and discard that energy, bring out my Dragonite, which will be able to OHKO this Gardevoir. So I'm pretty pumped about that. I'm going to go ahead and actually lay another energy down right back onto my Manectric so I can hopefully Mega Evolve in the future and begin doing that Turbo Bolt to energize this second Dratini, as I will go for the heavy impact here, 180 damage, giving me 3 prize cards for knocking out that Gardevoir-EX. And my opponent, I think, is pretty flummoxed here. He's got absolutely no energy in play, and he's staring down at incredibly bulky and powerful Dragonite. So he's got he plays the Fairy Garden, and he has a Pokemon Fan Club. Not being able to draw into anything he needs, though, so I think that we've got this one in the back of our hands. Looks like it. Definitely looks like it. Now, I don't want to use the Evo Soda because that could end my turn here. This, I'm actually... Some people will just automatically surrender if you keep playing out your turns, but I think that it's good to be a little precautious. And there it is, people, the success of Dragonite in the current format. Let me know what you think of the deck, what modifications you would make to it. That's our question of the day. If we do those questions of the day, feel free to leave any comments or concerns you have about the deck. Let me know how I can improve. I'd love to hear it. Looks like I'm closer to my daily goal. But this is Dr. Diddy. Thank you so much for watching my Pokemon trading card game online video today. Leave a comment, subscribe, like, whatever. and I'll see you next time. Later.